Today, we're going to talk about Arena Club and their repacks once again because there's some things that people wanted me to clarify. We'll then also talk to an error that Arena Club actually made that I think highlights some of the concerns and supports some of the concerns I have around why so many content creators are actually supporting them as a business, because it's pretty funny sort of what goes down with this sort of stuff. So, stay tuned for that. We'll then close the video talking about whatnot, because this does tie into repacks with them as well, because they've made some policy changes that I think are really important for the industry, and I'm really keen to hear what you guys have to say, as well. Now, we'll kick things off with Arena Club slab packs, like I said at the opening, because people didn't like the fact that I didn't mention what this repack actually did that was good. And the thing they did that was good was it was incredibly transparent. Now, what happened before was you'd go to their slab pack page, you'd click into the slab pack that you were interested in, and it would show you the checklist. Now, I can't find the checklist right now, but the thing that it did really well was it literally showed you every single card that you could hit, as well as the odds, and it had it all image. So, from a transparency perspective, you can't really ask for more than that. Now, the question then becomes, okay, well, are the cards in there even worth it or not? That's then up to the buyer to decide, right? The only thing you can sort of hope for from, a person who cares about this hobby is for the people making the repacks to make them transparent. And they did that, and they sold like hotcakes. Now, I'm sure a lot of that was because of how it was, pushed by influencers and all that sort of stuff. But, it is what it is at the end of the day. I'm not going to hate on people creating repacks. I'm not going to hate on people buying repacks. I just want them done the right way. And for the most part, Arena Club did that. They made it transparent. They showed you the odds. I would like to see it go a step further by adding in floors and ceilings. I'm not sure if theirs did that. I can't corroborate that right now. I'd also like, actual current market values to be shown within this as well. There's no reason why Arena Club can't do that. Now, I'm not sure if they did do that, but if they're not, that's something they should look to implement for, version 2.0, because essentially they are a marketplace as well, as you can see on screen. So technically they can show you what the currently traded price is of that card. And I think giving, the buyers more clarity is the way to go. Now, some people will say, well, it's up to the buyer themselves to do their own research. Sure. But, me as a business, I'd rather make it as transparent as possible so nobody can ask questions. The last thing you sort of want is a $5 card going into a $200 pack. And yeah, the onus is on the buyer to do their research 100%. I'm not trying to shy away from that at all. But if you're doing that, that looks a bit strange on you as a business, especially when you have a marketplace tied into it. Now, again, I do apologize if they did showcase that. I couldn't see it. Again, I can't see the repack myself, but at least they sort of made it transparent. Now, if there's anything I missed from issues with the repack, please drop it down below and I'll pin the comment to give a bit more clarity. Because the one concern that I had with something like this was, can they refill the packs as they're going? And apparently they can't, but keep that thought in mind because we're going to talk about that for whatnot in a second. The thing that I wanted to talk about that I referenced at the start regarding an error they made is what was reported by Sports Card Radio and a few others, because Pac-Man basically got this Peyton Manning rookie, but it wasn't actually a rookie. It was graded as a rookie, but it wasn't a rookie because it was a reprint as shown on the back. And this was noticed by viewers who watched his video and they saw it. And then, a lot of talk happened within the hobby. You can sort of see here, people like SCU Uncensored on Twitter, who has really good, WWE content and cards and all that sort of stuff, laughed about it. South Park Cards did it on IG as well, because it is a pretty laughable error, and it's one that is quite amateur in nature. And they've since corrected it, which Sports Card Radio called out in their article, which they consider it to be pretty interesting, because they said it basically, it likely means Arena Club doesn't slab the cards they grade until you request them to ship out, which is a very strange way to go about things. But the thing I want to tie into here with the influencers that I find very interesting is the fact that they made a mistake like this, right? That is a very basic error. And the concern that I have, and we'll get to whatnot in a second, the concern that I have is that, people will see their influencers talk about it, like Mojo Sports, Cage Lawyer, Retro Hoop Collectibles, King of Cards, who I think didn't disclose that he actually had a partnership. I could be wrong on that. I think the others did. I'm pretty sure the others did. But basically, they'd see these guys do it, and they'd be like, well, these guys are talking about it. That's awesome. I love these guys. I want to buy into this product because they're supporting it. Meanwhile, you go ahead and buy a repack, and you get something like that that is incorrectly graded, and it just looks incredibly amateur and basic. So from my perspective, it's like, well, these influencers, these content creators, and I put myself into that same bucket, right? If I'm ever putting my name to something, it needs to have me doing the research behind it. You've got guys supporting it, putting this stuff on a pedestal, yet this business is making amateur errors like that. That's then exposing people to getting like effed over because maybe it's not a simple fix. Maybe they graded a fake. Maybe it just wasn't a reprint. Maybe they just graded a fake. What do you do in that instance after spending your money there? Is Arena Club going to refund you? Probably not. So what sort of happens in that instance? Maybe they do. Maybe they have a guarantee. I need to double check. But that's where my mind goes with all this sort of stuff. And that's why it's sort of felt very uneasy for me watching it get sold how it was by literally my whole feed full of content creators. It was like 10, 15 plus of them, all praising these repacks, all talking it up. And it just seemed incredibly disingenuous. And it's just also odd seeing so many guys flock to a new business and support it the way they have. And then they output crap like this. Like, are you doing your due diligence? Maybe they did, but maybe they did. Like, that's the point I'm trying to make, right? It just doesn't sit right with me. And it just takes me back, like I said, in my weekly news video the other day and in my, live stream with Ziggy, Raul, and Carvin Cards is, it takes me back to 2020, 2021. It's like, that's not a good feeling to have, because there were so many people back then that took a bag, that were given a platform when they shouldn't have because they knew nothing about cards. They were trying to deceive, all that kind of stuff. And they were selling you something without doing their research, and they're exposing you as their viewer, which, as I've said before, they want to claim relevance. And when I say they, I mean, influencers in general, none of the people that I mentioned earlier, right? Influencers in general want to get relevance, but they need to keep in mind that they're only relevant in the first place because of the people watching their channel, right? And if they take those people for granted, they are then basically shooting themselves in the foot, and it's just incredibly idiotic. And they need to remember that, because so many guys get this ego. So many guys and girls in this space get this ego, support these businesses, take that check. But they do it at the expense of you, which is total bullshit in my opinion. Now, the last thing I want to talk to today regarding whatnot that I think ties to Arena Club and repacks and things like that has to do with updates to their policy regarding card breaks. And I'm hoping that this also captures the scope of repacks in general, right? So this was shared via Neo Cards and Comics on Twitter, who I first saw it from, but apparently it's from Denny Cards, as you can see on screen. But whatnot basically say, hi Denny, in order to continue building trust between sellers and buyers, we're adding the following new requirements, all right? New being key, these weren't there previously, to our card breaks policy, which will take effect on January 9th, 2024. They basically say from now on, breaks are cards only. You can't do anything other than, cards. Full break setups must be visible on screen for the entire live stream, i.e. you cannot change camera angles. Everything has to be in frame all the time, which is something that's pretty shocking to me that wasn't previously there. But if you go back to my videos on how to improve breaking or whatnot a year ago, whenever it was, that's one of the things that I mandated that said it needs to be there, and it's just shocking that it wasn't. Thirdly, any card break rules must be visible at the start of the show in show notes or in listings. Again, something that I'm shocked isn't there already, but this is there to avoid things like the whole Justin Gamble situation where sort of every time a customer asked him what the rules were or the floor and the ceiling was, he changed the number every single time, right? Because he was sort of just going off his mind. Whereas this is basically specifying it needs to be stated, it needs to be documented, it needs to be black and white for people to reference before they even buy anything, which is, again, a no-brainer, but it is what it is. I'm glad they've put it in there now. And the fourth of which I think is relevant to repacks, is card breaks cannot span multiple shows and no pre-sales off platform. And what this basically means that if you want to do a break, that whole thing has to be busted within that one recording. You can't do it over multiple shows. You can't have a 10-box break and do 5 in one and 5 in the other, like we see with some, group breaks. But the reason why I hope this is relevant to repacks, and I need to double check this, I'm about to leave for Hong Kong, so I haven't been able to read this policy in detail. But the reason why I hope this relates to repacks is because what a lot of repackers do is they'll have 50 repacks in a stream, like we saw with Justin Gamble, and they'll sell 5 to 10 repacks in that stream. And then the next night, they'll continue selling them, but instead of selling the remainder, i.e. 45 or the 40 that are left over, they'll top up the ones they sold and make it back to be 50 repacks. And that is a huge no-no, because the second you do that, you change the structure of the product, right? It all of a sudden has new averages, new floors, new ceilings, all that sort of stuff. And it's not genuine. It seems very disingenuous when people do that, because who knows what they're doing and manipulating the packs afterwards. So I'm thankful that whatnot are sort of mandating that. I'm hoping it relates to repacks, because that is a huge problem. And what should happen with repacks, as I explained in my live stream the other day in my weekly news, is if people want to be selling repacks on these platforms, these businesses really 100% need to mandate that if you don't sell at that repack, the remainder have to be, pulled apart, open on camera to show what was in them, and then you basically put those into a new repack product because they obviously didn't sell out. And that way, buyers can sort of see everything that was in the repacks. They have to be shown live on camera. There's no, cards being hidden. There's no packs being sold off camera in different platforms, all that kind of stuff, right? If you have 50 repacks, but you only sell 40, the remaining 10 open, show the customers, and then put those into a future product, right? That way people know what they're basically getting into, and they know they're not getting ripped off, or you've not put, duds in there or anything like that. It doesn't solve the issues with repacks, but this kind of stuff, I think, can really fix it. So I'm keen to hear what you guys have to say in the comments below. And as like I just said, I'm on my way to Hong Kong by the time you're seeing this. So please do wish me safe travels. But you're going to see videos that I've recorded over the next week. I've got, 3 more Q&A videos to come. I think I've got 3 videos pre-recorded. Some of them are a bit of fun, talking about the hobby, playing some stuff when it comes to Panini product and ranking them and all that kind of stuff. But if anything pops off in the next few days regarding major news within the hobby, I'll record it from my hotel room and sort of get it out there for you guys. But, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.